Hello and welcome back to my channel. My name is Jess, and in today's tutorial we are going to be making Jasmine the jellyfish. This is a super fun, very easy no-sew pattern. So without further ado, let's get started. So for today's project, I'm going to be using this baby snuggle yarn. It is a 6-weight yarn, which is a chunky yarn, and I'm going to be using this peachy color for the main body, and then I'm going to be adding in a couple of this deep red for details. Now you could just do it all one color, it does not need to be two. You can also use a smaller weight yarn, whatever you use is fine. This pattern will work for any weight yarn. To pair with my yarn, I'm going to be using this 5.5mm crochet hook. We're also going to need a pair of scissors, a darning needle, a stitch marker, safety eyes unless you plan on embroidering eyes, a little bit of black medium weight yarn, and some fiber fill. The stitches that you will need to know to be able to complete this pattern is a magic ring, a single crochet, a double crochet, a slip stitch, a chain, an increase stitch, and a decrease stitch. So once we've gathered all of our supplies, we can get into it. All right, so to begin our project, we are going to be taking our color A yarn, whatever that is for you, and we're going to start on the head. So to start the head, we are going to start with a magic ring. And inside that magic ring, we are going to place 8 single crochets. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Pull that tight. Now, if you're using a stitch marker, this is where you're going to place it. For myself, I personally like to use a scrap piece of yarn that is of lighter weight than the yarn you're working with. So I like to just place it right in front of my very last stitch of the last row, and that's going to mark where my rows begin and where they end. So moving on to round 2, we are going to be doing an increase stitch in each stitch around. Now an increase stitch is 2 single crochets in 1. So we're going to insert our hook, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through for 1 single crochet, and then we're going to go right back into that same stitch, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through, and that is an increase stitch. Now we're going to do that in every stitch around, so you should have 16 stitches at the end of round 2. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, and 16. And that is round 2 complete. Now for the stitch marker, I just bring it up and right in front of my last stitch of round 2, and then we're ready to move on to round 3. So for round 3, we're going to do the combination single crochet and an increase stitch. So single crochet in this first stitch and an increase in the second. And then we're going to repeat that. Single crochet, increase. And we're going to repeat this 8 times for a total stitch count of 24 at the end of round 3. Single crochet, increase. And there's round 3. Now for round 4, we're going to do 1 single crochet in each stitch around. So single crochet 24. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So just finish your 24 single crochets and we'll meet back here for round 5. All right, now moving on to round 5, we're going to do the combination single crochet 2 and increase. So 1, 2, increase. 1, 2, increase. We'll repeat this 8 times for a total stitch count of 32 at the end of round 5. So I'm going to just complete round 5 off camera and I'll meet you back here for round 6. All right, now for round 6, we're going to do 32 single crochets. So 1 single crochet in each stitch around. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. All right, and there is round 6 complete. Moving on to round 7, we're going to do the combination single crochet 3 and an increase stitch. So 1, 2, 3, and an increase. We'll repeat that. 1, 2, 3, increase. And we'll repeat this 8 times for a stitch count of 40 at the end of this round. 2, 3, increase. So complete round 8 and I'll meet you back here for, complete round 7 and I'll meet you back here for round 8. All right, and that is round 7 completed. Now moving on to round 8, we are going to be doing 40 single crochets. So that's 1 single crochet in each stitch around. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. So just complete round 8 and I'll meet you back here for round 9. All right, moving on to round 9, we're going to be doing the combination single crochet 4 and an increase. So 1, 2, 3, 4, increase. And we'll repeat that again. 1, 2, 3, 4, increase. And we'll repeat this again 8 times for a stitch count of 48 at the end of round 9. So I will complete this off camera and I will meet you back here for round 10. All right, this is what we're looking like up to round 9. Now for rounds 10, 11, 12, and 13, so 4 rounds, we're going to be doing single crochet 48. So just 1 single crochet in each stitch around for rows 10 to 13. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. So just continue that all the way around for rows 10 to 13, and I'll meet you back here for round 14. All right, and this is what we're looking like after rows 1 through 13 are completed. Now for round 14, what we're going to be doing is we're going to do an entire round of decrease stitches. Now for decreasing in the round, especially for amigurumi, I like to do an invisible decrease. So what that means is I'm going to insert my hook under the front loop of this first stitch here. And then I'm going to insert it under the next stitch front loop. Yarn over, pull through both loops. You have 2 on your hook. Yarn over and pull through those last 2 loops. And that is 1 decrease. So you just made 2 stitches into 1. Do that again. So front loop of the first stitch, front loop of the second, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, and pull through. So we're going to do that all the way around. So 24 decreases. And at the end of this round, you should have 24 stitches. So complete all your decreased stitches, and then we will meet back here for round 15. All right, so that is round 14 completed, and this is what we're looking like. If you have some misformed areas here because of all the decrease stitches, that's okay. Once we stuff it, those will go away. So before we move on, we are going to stuff our head, and we're also going to place our eyes. So first, I personally like to stuff my head first before I place my eyes, and I do that just because I find it's easier to see where the eyes should belong when I do it while the head is stuffed. So I'm just going to grab my fiber fill here, and I'm just going to start stuffing my head. Now usually I'll just put a little bit in, and then what I like to do is just sweep it out to the edges just to make sure that everything is being filled. And then I'll add a little bit more into the middle until I kind of have the shape that I want. Now we will have a couple more rows to go before we're done the head, so you will have more opportunity to stuff. So this does not have to be your final stuff. So once our head is stuffed to where we want it to be stuffed for now, we're just going to place our eyes. Now it doesn't really matter where you're going to place them, like on what side of the head. So just pick a side. And what we're going to do is we are going to count down to rows 9 and 10. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So 9 and 10 is where we're going to place these eyes. And I'm just going to place 1. And I'm not going to put the back on or anything. I'm just going to place it just so I kind of have idea. And then we want about 9 to 10 stitches in between our eyes. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, say 9. So we'll maybe go right here. And again, I'm not securing these. I'm just putting them on. Maybe just over once. Just move it over or move it around until you have it kind of where you want it. We will be bringing in the eyes ever so slightly. So if you find it looks weird like that, we are going to bring them in like this. So once we are happy with where our eyes are placed, we will put the backs on. Now, if you need to remove this stuffing to do this, that's totally fine. I'm just going to work around mine. There we go, and those are our eyes attached. Now moving on to row 15, we're going to do 1 single crochet in each stitch around. So we have 24 stitches, so 24 single crochets. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, and 24. All right, for round 16, we're going to do another entire decrease round. So we're going to do 12 decrease stitches. So same way we did them the first time, front loops of the next 2 stitches to do your decrease. So if you want, you can just do half. So your first 6, and then we can do a little bit of stuffing because once we reach 12 stitches, it might be a little bit more difficult to stuff. So I would just add in whatever stuffing you need to fill out your head here. You don't want it to be too hard, so you don't want too much stuffing, but enough to keep its shape. So once you're happy with that, you can continue along and complete the last 6 decrease stitches. Here we go. And then for our final round, round 17, we're going to do 1 more decrease round. So 6 decrease stitches with a final stitch count of 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. So I'm going to remove my stitch marker and I'm just going to place a slip stitch into this very next stitch. And then I'm going to take my yarn, my scissors, I'm going to cut my yarn. And I'm just going to pull that through. Now, lastly, to finish off this last final hole here, I just like to, using a smaller crochet hook, go under the front loop of each stitch around just to close up that final hole. And then I'm just going to also place a little knot for extra security. And then I'm going to weave in my yarn end. And there is the head of our jellyfish complete. So once we have completed the head, we are now going to crochet the skirt. So what we need for the skirt is we're going to use our same yarn that we're using for the head. And you can use your same hook, but for this specific thing, I personally like to use a smaller sized hook. So I just have this 3.75 millimeter hook that I'm going to use. I just find it's easier to get into the stitches that we're going to be working into with a smaller hook. But if you'd like to continue to use the 5.5, that is okay. So what we're going to do is we are going to be working directly into the head stitches, and we are going to be working into row 13. So we're going to count down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. So I'm just going to place a pin here just so I know, and I'm starting on the back of the head just because I don't want, because we're working a spiral, it's never going to be perfectly in line, so you are going to have a bit of a drop, and I'll show you what that means later, but I don't want that to be on the front of the head. So to begin, we're going to start off with a slip knot. So I'm just going to create a slip knot here. Now I'm going to take my head, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, so 13. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go underneath a stitch here in row 13. Just bring you in a little closer. And I'm going to just create a single crochet here, just like that. Now you want to make sure you're going to stay on this row. So if you need to mark it with pins all the way along, that's fine, but just make sure you're staying on this row so your skirt is straight. Now next we're going to skip a stitch. So right here we're going to skip that. And into this next stitch, we're going to place 5 double crochets. So yarn over, insert, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. So that's 1. So back under that same stitch, 2, 3, 4, and 1 more, 5. So that's what we're looking like right now. Now we're going to skip a stitch, and into this next stitch right here, we're going to place a single crochet. And there is one of our petals completed for the skirt. Now we're going to skip a stitch, and then in the next stitch we're going to create 5 double crochets again. And I'm just continuously making sure that I'm in the right row. So 5 double crochets, 1, 2, 3, 3, 4, 5. So there's our 5th double crochet. We're going to skip this next stitch and into this next stitch after that, right here, we'll place a single crochet. And there is our 2nd petal. Now we're just going to complete this all the way along. Now, if you need to, you can count down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 to make sure that we're in the right row. Now, like I said, because we're working in a spiral, we will need to move down a row so that we're still on row 13. So row 13 from back here is going to be in a slightly different spot than up here. It's going to be a little bit different on the row. So now that I'm in the front here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So row 13 is right here, which is below where I'm at right now. So you can make this adjustment on the side of the head or the back. Because I'm not at the front yet, I'm going to do it right now. So we're skipping this first stitch and we're going to go into this next stitch right here with 5 double crochets. And I'm just going down a row, which is still row 13, but on this part of the head, if that makes sense. So there's 3, 4, and 5. So we're going to skip a stitch. So we're going to skip a stitch, and then we're going to place a single crochet, and then we're going to skip a stitch, and then we're going to place 5 double crochets. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So we're just going to work our way all the way around the body on row 13. So again, I'm just going to continuously count down to make sure that I'm in the right row. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 12, 13. So I'm skipping a stitch, and then I'm going to place my 5 double crochets. 2, 3, 4, 5, skip a stitch, place a single crochet, skip a stitch, and place your 5 double crochets. So now that I finished my last petal here, I'm just going to make a slip stitch into the first stitch there. And I'm just going to cut my yarn. And I'm just going to pull that through. And there are my little petals for my skirt completed. Now all I need to do here is just weave in my ends. So I'm just going to tie a knot here with the 2 yarn ends. And then I'm just going to weave those in. And there is our skirt complete. All right, so once we have completed our little skirt here, we are going to move on to the tentacles. Now, I've already marked out my tentacles, so we're going to be working into round 16 of the body, or of the head, sorry. So just count down to row 16. And then what we're going to be doing is we're going to be placing 4 tentacles and 4 just like skinny tentacles. I guess they're also tentacles, but look a little different. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to create my 4 large tentacles in the same color yarn as my head here, so this color A yarn. And then I'm going to be creating the other 4 tentacles, which I'll show you in that reddy color. So to begin, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my yarn and I'm going to create a slip knot. And once again, I'm going to use this smaller 3.75 millimeter hook just because I find it easier to use. And I'm going to just start with my mark right here. I'm going to be making a slip knot, or a slip stitch, sorry. Just like that, just so I can attach myself to that spot. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to chain 15. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. So that's what we're looking like right now. Now on our chain, we're going to skip this very first stitch right here, this first chain, and into this second chain from our hook, we're going to be placing 3 double crochets in that one chain. So yarn over, insert, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. So that's 1, 2, 3. And we're going to repeat that for every single chain down. Now, because we skipped the first chain, there's only going to be 14 chains to do our 3 double crochets in. So I'm going to work into now the next chain with 3 double crochets. And doing 3 double crochets in each is what's going to make your tentacles like a curlicue. Into the next 1, 2, 3, and I'm just going to continue all the way down. All right, so once we have completed all of our chains, I just like to twist my curlicue. Sometimes it just needs a little bit of help to get into that position. Now what we're going to do is we're going to attach ourselves back down into this round, and we're just going to place a slip knot or slip stitch, sorry. We're going to cut our yarn and yarn over and pull through to finish our first tentacle. And there's our tentacle there. All right, so next I'm going to take my color B yarn, and these are just going to be the tiny little tentacles. So I'm going to make a slip knot again. I'm going to insert right beside my first tentacle, and I'm going to make a slip stitch, and I'm going to chain 15. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. I'm going to cut my yarn, and I'm going to just pull that through. And there is our small tentacle. So once we have this second tentacle completed, we're going to move on to the next one. Now for the next one, we're going to move back to our color A yarn. So whatever that is for you, I'm going to be using the peach yarn again. So same thing, we're going to make a slip knot. And we're going to insert right next to our last tentacle here, and we're just going to kind of insert it around where we landmarked. It doesn't have to be perfect, and we're just going to make a slip knot there to secure that. Now for this one, in this one here we chained 15. Now in this one we're going to chain 20. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. So just like that. Now we're going to do the exact same thing we did for this first tentacle here. We just have a little bit more stitches. So we're going to skip this first stitch right here, and we're going to move into this second chain from our hook. We're going to place 3 double crochets. So 1, 2, 3. And then we're going to move into the next one. Again, 3 double crochets. 1, 2, 3. And we're just going to move along into every single stitch along. Now because we skipped the first stitch, we're only going to have 19 chains to work into. So 3 double crochets in each chain from the hook. So once we've completed that tentacle, we're just going to move over about 2 stitches, and we're just going to slip stitch that together and cut that yarn tail and just pull that through. Just like that. Now with this one, yeah, you might need to just help it along to get the twist. And then you'll have your tentacle. So taking our color B yarn, we're just going to make a slip stitch, or a slip knot, sorry. And we're going to insert it right next door to where we just placed our last tentacle, and we're going to make a slip stitch just like that. Now once we are attached to the jellyfish, we're going to chain 15. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. Grab our scissors and cut and pull that through. So now we have created our 4 tentacles. So you should have one shorter color A tentacle, and then one 15 chain tentacle, one longer tentacle in the color A yarn, and then again another 15 chain. So basically what we're going to do now is we're going to repeat these 4 tentacles on the other side. So you're going to do a shorter tentacle, a 15 tentacle, a longer tentacle, and then another 15 tentacle. So you should have 4 of these tentacles and 4 of these. So I'm going to complete the other side off camera. Just rewind the video to rewatch if you need to see what the stitch counts are. And I will meet you back here once all those tentacles are completed. So this is what we're looking like after all 8 of our tentacles are on. This is kind of what our tentacles are looking like, but it's really messy because we have a ton of yarn ends here, yarn tails. So we're going to just start weaving those in. So for these bottom ones, I just basically like to stick my hook in and just grab them and pull them through. And it's pretty much simple as that for those guys because they're already tied off. So they should be knotted already. So you shouldn't have to knot them again. Of course, if you want to knot them again, you absolutely can. I always find, the more securement, the better. The longer your stuffies will last. Alright, so there's all of the ones at the base of the tentacles sewn in. Now lastly, we just have to sew in these guys right here that are attached to just the chain rows. So I just like to take my darning needle here and apply my yarn. And then all I'm going to do, because there is a knot here, I'm just going to weave this down a couple rows. Now this one is probably the hardest one because you really don't want it to come out. So I just like to weave it down a few. I mean, realistically, you could weave it all the way down and then secure it into the bottom. Or if you prefer, you can just make a tiny knot and cut the yarn, because that would also work. may just go all the way down for extra peace of mind. And it also makes this tentacle a little bit thicker, which is nice. Of course, this yarn falls apart really easily if you're using this yarn. It just falls apart on you. So you have to have lots of patience with it. Go all the way down. And then once we're at the base here, we'll just make a tiny knot. And just weave that in. All right, so just repeat that for all 4 of these smaller tentacles, and then we'll meet back here for the next step. All right, so there is our jellyfish so far with all of our tentacles completed, the outside tentacles, and all of our yarn ends weaved in. Now all we're going to do is we're going to do one last tentacle right in the center here. Now we're going to use our color A yarn, so for me it's going to be that peach color. And we are going to do the same thing that we did for our second and fourth tentacles of the large size. So we're going to take our yarn here and we're going to make a slip knot. And right in the center of our jelly here, we're just going to insert our hook. It doesn't have to be perfect. And we're going to do our chain 20. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. We're going to skip the first chain from our hook and we're going to go into the second chain, 3 double crochets. So we're doing the exact same thing we did for the outside tentacles. 3 double crochets in each chain space or chain stitch. So a total of 19 stitches we're doing 3 double crochets into. All right, so once we have finished our last stitch, we're just going to go to the kind of a couple stitches over, and we're going to just place a slip stitch, and we're going to cut our yarn. And then again, just sometimes you got to help these curlicues along to get into that twisted position. And then I'm just going to weave in these last ends. And there are your tentacles complete. Once our tentacles are all done, the very last thing we're going to do is we're going to shape the face a little bit. So basically what we're looking to do is just bring in the eyes a little bit. So how I do that is I'm just going to take a medium weight yarn. I have black, but it does not have to be black, and a darning needle. I'm just going to put my yarn on my darning needle. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to insert my needle as close to the eye as I can in the top inner corner. Sometimes this can take a little bit of finessing to get it as close as you can. So once you have it in a good spot, we're going to just push this over to the other side in the exact same spot. And we're going to pull that through, just like that. Just don't pull your yarn all the way through. Now with this yarn end still attached to this eye over here, we're going to go down to the bottom inner corner as close as you can get, and we're just going to push this down to the center of our jellyfish, kind of where you put that last tentacle. Now we're going to take the other eye's strand that we have right here, and we're going to do the same thing. We're going to go down to the bottom corner as close as you can get to the eye and down to the bottom. Next, we're going to just grab these two strands and we're just going to pull a little bit. Now you don't have to pull too much. We don't want it to be like crazy different from what we have, but this is just going to add a little bit of definition to your jelly. And if you've made too much, you can just pull it up and it will release. So I just want like ever so slightly to go in. And once we have where we want it, we're just going to tie a knot on the bottom here. I'm just going to cut my tails here. And then I'm going to just weave these ends in. Just like that. And that is our completed jellyfish. I really hope you guys enjoyed this pattern. I really enjoyed making it with you. Please let us know in the comments down below if you have any other suggestions for some patterns you're looking to see. Otherwise, please subscribe if you haven't already, and we'll see you in the next one. Bye!